and welcome to the Design+Style podcast, a podcast for designers by designers. And I'm Rachel Moriarty with Rachel Moriarty Interiors, and my lovely co-host is Miss Dixie with
Dixie Willard Design.
Or Designing Dixie.
Designing Dixie.
I love Designing Dixie. It just reminds me of a TV show.
Well, that could be arranged.
That could be, yeah.
HGTV, if you're listening. I'm in the Knoxville area.
So we have a topic today that we try to take the temperature of what's happening in the collective consciousness. I'll get all woo-woo. I'm just going to start off all woo-woo.
I don't see any reason not to.
I don't either. You know, we're in the full moon, new moon, Mercury retrograde, all that mess is happening right now. So we're going to go with it. You've got your galaxy shirt on.
Got
your constellation shirt on. So it's on.
Feeling all starry-eyed.
And I've got a little, what do you call this? Tie-dye action going on. So
I love it.
We're just going to act
We
all
are
hippie.
color coordinated today.
We're all hippie today. So it's really funny because Dixie and we both hang out on the interwebs, right? But we do kind of run in different circles on the internet, which is, that's normal, right? And what's happening in both of our circles is this limiting belief thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've read a book by Gay Hendricks, I think his name is, called Upper Limit, which I would suggest to anybody. I remember the first time I heard this term, I was talking to one of my coaches, Ellen Scott, and she kept mentioning this term, upper limit, upper limit. Mm-hmm. And it was doing this thing in my body. I had never heard the term before, but afterwards I had to get clarification. I'm like, every time you say upper limit, it's like swooshing, Yeah. It was weird. It was resonating, but I didn't even know what it was. And so then she started explaining to me some about limiting beliefs and how we upper limit ourselves with our, if we could just get past those limiting beliefs.
Yes.
Sky's the limit, really, So I think you and I are both finding in our circles that limiting beliefs are coming into play big time. Mm-hmm. I wonder if it's because we just entered quarter 2 of business and maybe people are thinking maybe quarter 1 didn't, you have that it's the new year. I'm going to cut, take 2017 and then Q1 finishes and
there is something about taxes.
And tax time.
Tax time I don't care what industry you're in. This time of year, there's just something going on.
Something strange in the air, huh? Yeah. So that could be it.
Or we're all still on spring break, one or the other.
Yeah. So some of the limiting beliefs, they feel so real. They feel so real. That is the thing. And I'll just go through some of them. So one of them is I don't have time. I hear that all the time. And I remember when I started this iteration of my design firm, I was working as a banking manager, a banking officer, full time. And I was running my design firm and I was doing a whole gut remodel for a client, in the margins of that and between a wife and a mother of 2 kids, so it really isn't, I don't have time, you really do. Yeah. You really do. You just have to, can you not watch TV? Can you not get sucked into social media? Can you, it's really about
social media and Netflix are probably 2 of the biggest time sucks
for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Facebook. I'm just going to go on and see if anybody commented so that I can answer them and be done. Yeah. And then an hour later I'm going, yeah, I should really turn this off now.
I know. And actually, for me, the live streams are because, I'm a live streamer and I
Uh-huh.
get sucked into people's live
I
streams.
start watching everybody else.
I know.
Yeah.
And so for me, social media is definitely, I need to put limits around it.
Hmm.
And, I actually have tried several times, like, okay, I'm going to, and it's become such a habit now.
Yeah.
And since, for us as business owners online, you have to, you can't just put content out and
No.
not engage. So you do have to, but I know that some people are really good about it. Like I'm
Yeah.
going to go on every, I don't know, 3 hours for 20 minutes or 15
Hmm.
minutes or whatever. So, I mean, definitely could be,
I may have to
um,
start setting a timer just
egg
to keep
timer.
myself on track. Yeah.
Yeah. Another one is I don't have the money or I can't afford it, which is a big thing. I remember when I started this business, I was bootstrapping
Hmm.
every single thing. Like I don't know how I thought I was going to have a profitable business without putting any money into it.
Yeah.
And I still have a very low overhead. I mean, that I do. And Dixie and I do run profitable businesses because we keep our overheads very low. We work from home, we're
Hmm.
solopreneurs, and so that helps. But you definitely have to invest. And right, I think you and I are both in that investing season in our
Yeah.
business, and a lot of it's
Absolutely.
going to coaching and
Hmm.
programs like that,
And upping the marketing for me,
upping the
increasing
marketing.
visibility, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm actually going to I'm looking into like pay per click and you know what I mean, stuff like that,
Hmm.
like stuff I haven't done yet. Sneaking into that realm of uncomfortableness.
Yes.
Um, so that's definitely, can you think of any that you've had in the past maybe that
Well, I
they
would just
feel so
say
real?
they do. And I would just say that the thing with the I don't have the money is that it's completely perception. Like you can decide if you want something bad enough, you and I both know you're going to go out there and you're going to kick butt until you get it. It's just a matter of deciding whether or not it's worth it. So
Right. I
that's my
remember
little 2 cents on the money thing.
yeah, I think we've talked about it before. It's like until you spend $300 an hour on somebody, how can you charge your 200 and something? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? If you
Hmm.
don't know, like, I want to work with that person so much, I'm willing to fork over this much and just knowing that feeling and that people will have that with us too. And just to be able to trust because I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that kind of ties into the I can't charge that much, which is a
Yes.
limiting belief, but it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. I
Two
mean,
sides of the same coin.
it is. So, I've heard other, we're in interior design groups, right,
Mhm.
with other entrepreneurs, and even we're in groups with other online entrepreneurs. It's not even about interior designers. Um, Talking about our hourly rates, and you hear all the time.
Mhm.
And the most interesting thing that I always hear is I can't charge that much because their expectation is going to be this, which always confuses me, like you want it. So, okay, so if you charge 85, then you don't have to live up to the client's
Right.
expectation. Like
Yeah.
anytime money is exchanged, even if someone was paying me, think about your handyman, how much we pay our handyman, and we still expect a level of work
Mm-hmm.
that, that meets our expectations.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter whether you're charging 75 or 220 or more, because designers are charging way more now an hour.
Hmm.
um you if somebody's forking over money to you, they're going to expect
Right.
that level. It doesn't matter what what you charge.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to me to hear that. um I've heard I'm not good enough, I'm not talented enough, I'm not educated enough.
Hmm.
There's always, you and I are on two sides of the education. I'm the self-taught. You're the I always say alphabet soup.
Yes.
And, I've never had that. Like, I've never had, oh, she's got 23 letters behind her name.
Yeah, no, because it
You know what
doesn't.
I mean?
There are things that they will teach you in school, but there are other things that just get left out of the equation. As far as the relationships with your client, they don't teach you that. They don't teach you how to be good and to relate to people. There was a little bit on color, but really mine didn't have that much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's like whole chunks of your education that get left out that I've seen people who've never had any sort of education at all who are phenomenal
Well,
at doing all that. And
what you do, I think you definitely, because you do builder plans and
right.
construction and stuff like that. I could never step into what you do. Obviously to do what you do, you need an education. But when you do what I do, which is residential, and it's really, I mean, really what I do is, I really work with the feeling of a place, and
Mm-hmm.
my process is so intuitive. You can't teach that,
Right.
so it's natural born gifts plus
Mm-hmm.
intuition, and then of course, lots of experience as a creative. I mean, oh my gosh, I think I'm past 30 years of working as a creative. It's so crazy. Um, so all of that plays in, but, I do hear a lot of people, well, I'm just a decorator, or I'm just a stylist.
And
You
I still
know,
do that to myself.
do you really?
I do. I still think things like, oh, I should go and study fill in the blank because then I'll know more about that. And then I have to I have to figure out whether it's something that will actually benefit me or is just kind of a mind game I'm playing with myself and
Upper
is
limit.
really just a limiting belief.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I'm too scared
Mm-hmm.
is one. Like when people putting themselves out there
That's a
doing
big
live
one.
video.
That's a big one. Whether it's live video or I hear it in networking groups. People say, oh, I wouldn't be able to stand up and talk in front of however many people. And the reality of it is, it takes practice. I am
It does.
nobody believes me when I say this, but at this point, it's because I've had so much practice at it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was horrible at getting up and talking in front of people. It was painful for me. I can't imagine what it was like for the people sitting there trying to listen to me because it was just awful. And, there are groups that'll help you work on that. Toastmasters.
Yeah.
Toastmasters is dedicated to helping you learn how to speak in front of other people. If you are that worried about it, go out and do it. But I'm telling you, the key is practice.
Absolutely. And you and I were talking offline before this, and I was telling you that I went to a chamber meeting
Mm-hmm.
and had to do a 30-second advertisement for my business. And I didn't realize, and it wasn't like twist your arm, you have to do it. But I was like, how am I not going to do this? I'm sitting here in front of all these professionals in my community. Why wouldn't I do it? So of course I hopped on the line to do it. But that was my limiting belief. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, even when I was in corporate, when we would be sitting in conference rooms, it was like a round table thing of like, oh, what have you got going on this week? We used to call them traffic meetings, just like real
Mm-hmm.
quick, like what's going on this week? What are you working on? What'd you do? What's going forward? Um, when the person before me would be talking, I'd start blanching and I would start sweating. And I remember I would do the same thing when I was in school. I like, please don't call on me. Please don't call on me. Please don't
Mm-hmm.
call on me, And I remember just standing there in front of this chamber, and it was like the person before me had the mic, and I had to like remind myself, like, you're not that person.
Right.
You have a daily live stream.
Right.
You riff every single day online. You have a podcast that you
Mm-hmm.
co-host. You're not that person anymore, And I got up and I was able to do my little 30-second commercial. But I mean, that was a huge hurdle for me. Now I've had a lot of people say, hey, why don't you do a workshop or something like that, where
Mm-hmm.
I would be like, no, a workshop. But, I'm 8 months in to doing daily live streams, and you and I have been doing this podcast for 4 months now.
I know. How did that happen?
I don't know. I just saw the date on iTunes. I was like, December.
Yeah.
So, things change, we evolve, and maybe, I couldn't at one point, or thought I couldn't. I mean, it was so crippling. But, once I did that, it was like, now it's like, okay, what's the next like live
Mm-hmm.
thing? I will need practice. I'm not saying I'm great at it. Like, I would definitely
Right.
want to
Oh,
be
yeah.
more polished, but, uh, you know, I don't feel like I can't do it anymore.
And I will say that in addition to practice, you have to keep doing it. If you stop, you will regress.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the whole reason for doing this, is because we're staying in practice.
We
Well,
are.
okay, there might be a few other reasons, like we've got a few opinions and
And we like to hang out.
we like to hang out. We thought we'd share it with you guys because we like each other.
So let's see. Other ones are, what will people think of me? Like being judged, or
Oh, that was a big one for me.
was
It
it?
was huge.
In which part? Like in what part of
For me, it was because my dad had always said, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a teacher, and he had always said, "You're too smart to be a teacher," and had essentially talked me into studying engineering. And so when I decided that that wasn't what I wanted to do anymore, the thought of people going, "Oh, well, she's a decorator, designer, whatever," it didn't. I just had
because
this.
you had that like intellect, like you
It had
thought you
been
would take
beaten
it more.
into me that I had to be at this certain
Yeah,
level.
yeah, yeah.
And now, luckily, it led to me realizing that there are all kinds of different jobs. And I am a reformed job snob. I am no longer a job snob. I appreciate pretty much every job there is. So,
Right. Absolutely.
but that would, yeah, what will people think of me? It took a long time to say, I'm a designer, instead of, I'm a designer, but I was going to be an engineer.
Yeah. And I do a lot of those things still.
Yeah. Yeah, it was super hard for me. And I still occasionally fall back into that trap. But no, I mean, I went to a BNI group today and met 20 people and was perfectly comfortable saying, I'm a residential interior designer,
Mm-hmm.
and just left it at that.
Right. Right. For me, it was my live streams, and still, sometimes it still is.
Yeah.
I fight it, to be honest. I fight it a lot. Like, oh, people are going to be sick of me, or they don't want to see me, or they don't want to hear what I have to say, or whatever, But at the same time, I made a promise to my family
Right.
that when I quit my job, that I was going to do everything I could to run this business,
Mm-hmm.
and this is part of it for me. And so, um, that's what, I guess it's your why. I think we've had a thing on
Yeah.
your big why,
Yeah.
So, but just, I think people think I just hop on and it's like a super easy thing and, blah, blah, blah. It's not. I fight it. I fight it on
Mm-hmm.
the, pretty much weekly, that, what will people think? Other people aren't paying my mortgage, and they don't have a son, that's going into college in a year and a half. And
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? And so, and paying for like gymnastics and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
that's when I have to be like, those people aren't paying my bills.
Mm-hmm.
So, whoever those people that I think in my mind are going to judge me. So that's what kind of gets me. But that is probably one of my biggest ones, because I put myself out there so much that, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like waiting for like someone to like say something. And it's never happened yet. Not to my face.
I think the only comments I've seen have been, Rachel, I'm so glad you're better after you were sick a few weeks ago, because we missed you.
You know what is one? I'm going off a list, you guys, of limiting
Mm-hmm.
beliefs, just so you know where I'm we're getting some of this stuff. And one of them, and it's so funny because you and I just did an entire podcast about this last week. And one of them is, I'm not making progress with this.
Yes.
And you and I were both sitting in that space last week. Like, what am I doing?
And it's funny because I do a lot of different reading. And one of the things I came across this week was that it said, you already know what you're supposed to do. You just keep asking the question because you hope it'll change. The answer will change.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got to that point, I was like, okay, I know what I need to do. I don't want to go out and meet new people, but I will do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's those 5% activities that will grow your business, that'll get you your sales, that will, and those are the ones that aren't fun.
Right.
Or usually stretch us, or you know what I mean?
Or a combination of those.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hard. It's not easy being the rainmaker.
No.
It's easier to be the worker, like sit behind your laptop and work on stuff and, so much easier. Which leads to, I don't have the motivation.
Yeah.
Which happens.
Motivation.
It happens. It definitely happens,
There are times when I would much rather sit there and watch Netflix for 6 hours.
Yeah.
But instead, I get up and get ready to do stuff.
And you and I both joined Samantha Parker's group where, we weekly kind of set our things that we, our goals, and we look at things and what we want to do and what action steps we're going to take. And I just started meeting up also with another designer, and she and I are going to do just monthly things. And we just said, hey, let's just tick off, like, what do you, before we talk next month, what are some things that you haven't gotten done? A one-to-one accountability. Yes. You know what I mean? Not a group accountability, because there's something you can pull off, and you can not show up on the group and not post things, but like
got called out.
Me too. So we just decided, we were roommates at Market, and we were just talking, and we both started our business at the same time, and we were like, and we live like a couple of hours, so we're on the same time zone, and you know what I mean? It's just like, we're like really, really similar. And so we were just like, we're just going to do a monthly check-in, and we're going to, what are those things that are going to make you move forward? And so that's what we had our first one yesterday. So that was kind of fun.
That's exciting.
I need all kinds of help, girl. Like, I need coaching. I need my podcast bestie. I need it's like crazy how many things you have to set up as a solo to keep you going,
And I will say, if you remember your big why, that helps with your motivation. So my big why is the nonprofit work that I do. Your big why is taking care of your family. So it's, I can't tell you how many times I have not wanted to do something, and I stop, and that thought pops into my head, my big why, and I think, yeah, no, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and get this done. So that
I know, even when you say that, I feel like in my chest, it's like, I remember the moment I sat in the kitchen with Michael and talked about leaving my 9-to-5 and the promises I made,
right?
And I will do everything I can, to like keep this family afloat. And, we live in we need our 2 incomes. And so I can't just be a stay-at-home mom. I have to make, I have to make this work. So, I mean, literally it's just an anchor. So I guess your why can, definitely be an anchor to get you past some of these beliefs. So let's just wrap up, because we're almost getting, some of the other ones. So I'll just go through a lot. Some people think they're too old.
I hear that a lot, and it always amazes me.
It always amazes me, because I was 45 when I took the leap. I'm like, I got like 20 something years of work in me still.
At least
I'm going to be doing what I love was another why. It's like, I'm not going to be sitting in a bank anymore. I just couldn't see myself sitting in the bank for like
And
another 20 years.
you know what? You can go online and find all kinds of stories of people who started in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s doing something and were incredibly successful.
Yeah,
And every time I think about that, that makes me go, okay, I'm not too old. But I
absolutely.
have that feeling sometimes. I've
I
got grown kids. I need to be doing
yeah,
something else. No, this is fine. This is the perfect time for me.
I know. Or just even being in the online space. I feel like being in the online space, you know, the
Trying to
older
keep
is in the
up.
30s, the older's in their
Right.
30s, you know what I mean? But a lot of them are in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it's like our kids, you know, could be, well,
Yeah.
for me, I don't have kids that age, but I definitely could. So just, I'm going to go through some of these because if I want you to hear them
Mm-hmm.
because they're sneaky and they feel real, but they're just beliefs. They're
Mm-hmm.
just beliefs. And, you know, if once you pass through these, so we just talked about I'm too old or I'm too young.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't have the energy. I feel unsure. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stuck. I'm hopeless. Uh, you know, and then back to I don't know where to go with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So those, if any of those resonate with you, just limiting beliefs, you guys. Find a friend, find a bestie, get in a group, get some coaching, get the book Upper Limit by Gay Hendricks. And he's also on YouTube as well. So you
Oh,
can,
awesome.
you know, definitely get some videos and stuff like that. Um, yeah, bust through those limiting beliefs.
Don't let them limit you.
No. We work at it. I mean, you and I mean, we go through them all.
Yep.
We talk about them all the time. You and I
Yep.
have been doing this for a while together. So we get it. We get it. And we send our love to you.
We do. And feel free to hop on over to our Facebook page, which is Design and Style. It's facebook.com/Design and Style podcast. And you can also find us on facebook.com/groups/Design and Style podcast, where we have our own little group where you can chit chat about stuff like this all the time.
Absolutely. Hop in our group if this has resonated with
Mm-hmm.
you. If you want to have a more of a discussion about limiting beliefs, we could definitely have it there in the group.
And I think that's about it. Thank you so much, guys. We love talking with you, and can't wait to hear what you have to say about this topic.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.